Néstor Isidro Pérez Salas, El Nini, is one of the leaders of the security apparatus of the Chapitos, the faction of the Sinaloa cartel headed by the sons of Joaquin, El Chapo, Guzman Lora. His violent cell, made up of men between 20 and 35 years old, resolved the disputes that his bosses had with authorities and even rival cells. His signature was violence. His origin and rise in the Sinaloa cartel. Néstor Isidro Pérez Salas was born on September 9, 1992 in Culiacán, Sinaloa. According to the National Registry of Arrests, he is 1.70 meters tall, has a thin build and a white complexion. His nickname El Nini is due to the fact that he did not study or work, but rather dedicated himself to drug trafficking from a young age. Pérez Salas began his criminal career as a hitman for Oscar Noé Medina González, alias El Chino Antrax, who was the main deputy of Ivan Archibaldo Guzman Salazar, alias El Chapita, one of El Chapo Guzman's sons. Medina González was the leader of Los Antrax, an elite group of the Sinaloa cartel that was in charge of protecting the Chapitos and eliminating their enemies. El Nini gained the trust of Medina González and the Chapitos for his loyalty and efficiency. He soon became one of the leaders and commanders of Los Ninis, the security personnel of Los Chapitos. His role was to supervise the regional and hitman networks that the Sinaloa cartel maintained in operation throughout the national territory. He is linked to the murder of José Rodrigo Arec y Gagamboa, alias El Chino Antrax, a former leader of Los Antrax, a group of hitmen of the Sinaloa cartel. Arec Gagamboa was found dead along with his sister and brother-in-law on May 16, 2020 in Culiacán, after having escaped from house arrest in the United States at El Cubo. He is linked to the attack on the Lebaron family, which occurred on November 4, 2019 on the borders of Sonora and Chihuahua, where 3 women and 6 children of American-Mexican origin died. It is presumed that the motive was a territorial dispute between the Sinaloa cartel and the Juarez cartel for control of the area. His participation in the Culiacanazo. On October 17, 2019, Nini was one of the protagonists of the so-called Culiacanazo, an episode of unprecedented violence that broke out in Culiacán, after federal forces arrested Ovidio Guzman Lopez, alias El Raton, another of El Chapo Guzman's sons. El Nini, along with other leaders of the Sinaloa cartel, ordered his hitmen to take over the streets of the city, block access roads, attack the military and free the prisoners from the Agaruto prison. The objective was to pressure the government to release Ovidio Guzman. The result was chaos that lasted several hours, with clashes, shootings, fires, kidnappings and deaths. Finally, the government decided to release Ovidio Guzman to avoid further violence. El Nini and his men achieved their goal, but they also put themselves in the crosshairs of the authorities. After his search and capture, after the Culiacanazo, El Nini became one of the most wanted men by the authorities of Mexico and the United States. On February 22, 2021, a federal grand jury convened in the District of Columbia filed an indictment against him, charging him with conspiracy to traffic cocaine and methamphetamine, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and retaliation against witnesses. The U.S. State Department was offering a reward of up to $3 million for information leading to the arrest of Néstor Isidro Pérez Salas. According to the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, the Sinaloa cartel is largely responsible for the massive flow of fentanyl into the United States in recent years. On November 22, 2023, elements of the Ministry of National Defense, the Navy, and the National Guard were deployed in Culiacán, Sinaloa, to carry out an operation and capture Nini. After several minutes of searching in a containment device, to prevent the criminal group to which Nini belongs from carrying out a violent reaction. The uniformed officers managed to find a fenced area located on Villa Schwa Street, between Villa Culiacán and Villa Palos in Culiacán, Sinaloa, where he was arrested. His transfer and judicial process at night of the same day, Nini was transferred in an Air Force helicopter to Mexico City, where his judicial process began. He was placed at the disposal of the Specialized Prosecutor's Office for Organized Crime of the Attorney General's Office, FGR, which accuses him of organized crime, against health and carrying firearms for the exclusive use of the Army. Nini also faces an extradition request from the United States, which claims him for the charges brought against him in that country. His legal fate is yet to be defined, but what is certain is that his capture represents a hard blow for the Chapitos and for the Sinaloa cartel, who lose one of their main operators and protectors. What can we learn from the life of the Nini? Perhaps the path of crime has no future, that sooner or later the cost of illegal actions is paid, that violence only brings more violence, and that there is another way to seek well-being and happiness without harming others. We can also reflect on the role of the authorities, society, and education to combat and prevent the phenomenon of drug trafficking, which has caused so much damage to Mexico and the world. I hope you liked this reflection. I invite you to follow my channel to find more interesting and creative content. Thank you for your attention, and until next time.